My friends, we are in a very, whether it's panic caused or real, whatever it is, the situation is real. And I try to learn every single week the last 4 years of the Rebbe's teachings, the Sikha on that Parsha. Amazing stuff. You could see it on my YouTube channel, www.kabbalahwisdom.org, or my website, kabbalahwisdom.org. I use Kabbalah because it's a marketing name, but basically it's all Chassidus. Amazingly, I never saw this, so I've read a lot of the Rebbe's Torah, definitely in the last 4 years. I've gone through it many years, go over it every single year. The only time I've ever seen the Rebbe addressing, basically, he's speaking clearly about a machla, he's speaking about some kind of pandemic, and he's speaking about how to get over it. So this is the Lubavitcher Rebbe, and if I may say, one of the things that I love about the Rebbe is that he's very practical. He's not throwing things out. Everything he said was very real, and if he said it, it works. And so what I've seen so far is 3 suggestions that the Rebbe has said. The first is Pesach is coming up. We all know in Yiddishkeit there are 3 levels of giving tzedakah. There's Meiser, there's Chaimish, and there's everything. In other words, a person can look at it in a limited way, but the Eibishter reacts to us. If I limit myself, then what comes back to the world is limited as well. And most of us, particularly if you're a little successful, you've learned about the limitations and how to manipulate the limitations. But if you want infinity, you want Geula Shlema, which will take care of all the levels, you have to get rid of limitations. And this is very interesting because this is actually the last thing that the Rebbe actually said. Shabbos Parshas Vayakel, the last paragraph that the Rebbe ever said was basically this point. You have to go beyond your limitations. Whatever you can give. People are struggling, give. And this, if I may say, this is not the words of the Rebbe, giving is not only giving money. It's also giving of yourself. Somebody yesterday called me up, a guy that I don't really know. How are you? At the end of the conversation, I basically asked, why are you calling me? He says, well, I'm calling everybody. Call people up. Connect with them. Everybody's looking for love. Everybody must be the person that gives it. And one of the beautiful things about love is when you give it, it comes right back to you. So, we have to, Adam ki yakriv mekem. We're in a parsha, very famous Torah, the Alter Rebbe. The Alter Rebbe says, if you want to come close to Hashem, ki yakriv mekem, you have to give yourself to Hashem. And Baruch Hashem, we don't live in bad times, we live in great times. Our ancestors literally gave their lives to Hashem. But we have to give ourselves for Hashem. Not away, but dedicate our lives to Hashem. What could be better in any event? What's all this smoke screen of stocks and vacations all going up in the air, right? So if you base your life on things that make you look good to other people, it all disappears. But if you base your life on I'm a Yid, I'm a Chassid, I'm a servant of Hashem, I'm going to give my life to the Eibishter's will, and the Eibishter has a Melech, he has a Moshe Rabbeinu in every generation who's telling us what we have to do, which is basically Chesed. You have money, give your money. People need to give their money. Millions, billions have been lost. Think about it. I don't want to make anyone feel guilty, but one of the organizations I support is Koel Chabad. Koel Chabad was chosen by the Israeli government. They give out, it's unbelievable, there's 800,000 children living below the poverty line. This is government statistics. Children in Eretz Yisrael. I don't know what the percentage is, a third. They give out 500 shekels worth of basic dry goods and stuff. It's unbelievable what they do. But I spoke to the director of the program, Rabbi Bloy. There's 100,000 families. They give out to 10,000. They don't have food for more. That's $20 million budget that they have to cover. The government's giving them 20% of this. Why is there a hungry Jew in Israel today? Some people have billions of dollars, and there are Jews that are starving in Israel. Why? And the answer is quite simple, because we don't care. That's why, if it was your child, it wouldn't happen. A Yid has to realize he's part of Klal Yisrael. There's one community, there's one people. They're not two people. That person is you. And according, the Alter Rebbe says, you're not allowed to have meat before the other person has bread. So this is not a joke. You have to give your life, your money, yourself to Hashem. And this pandemic shows you, your money doesn't mean anything. Apart from the fact it can, God forbid, disappear, it can't save you. Only Hashem can help you. And the way Hashem reacts, if you're going to say to Hashem, okay, I'm all for you. I give Meiser, and I want a nice, comfortable house. There's nothing wrong with having money and comfort. But the point is that my percentage to God is 20%. That's 80% is me, 20% is you. So God says, okay, 80% is me, 20% is you. But he say, no, I am everything to you. There is no me. There's only you. So he says, you're everything, I'm everything too. There'll be Mashiach, infinite goodness. Two other things that the Rebbe says. You're speaking about Amalek. Amalek is the klippa of calming us down. Don't be, a lot of people are very sophisticated. We have to look good for the people themselves that are everyone's trying to impress everyone else. Ridiculous stuff. You're a Yid. The only thing that exists is your neshama. That's what's internal. That is you. And get that in your head. You're infinite because you're connected to the infinite. Everything else, even the body, comes and goes. The cells live and die. Every basically 2 weeks, half of your body is a new body. So this is who we are. And this is who all of us are. We're one unit in one. And the final thing that the Rebbe says, I have to remember, I'm sorry. Hold on 1 second. I've got to find this. Sorry about that. The final thing that Rebbe says is to be besimcha. We know simcha peiretz geder. I heard from a rabbi who knows a lot of the Rebbe's teachings. The Rebbe said, Gloib mir, trust me, simcha will bring geula. And it's very important to understand, as I read from the Rebbe, unbelievable. Rabbi Seligson, he took basically everything that the Rebbe said, is unbelievable work of Mafteach. And one of the things that the Rebbe says is that a human being, and this was, I think, a letter to someone, we find that Adam Rishon was in Gan Eden. He had everything. You name it, he had it all. But he wasn't satisfied. He didn't have a certain apple. He wasn't satisfied. And then there were other Yidden, they were literally in the concentration camps. They had nothing. It was worse than nothing. And every morning they woke up and they said, Maidani, and they said brachas. So actually, at least, this is based on psychologists, at least 40% of our happiness is not circumstantial, it's not biological, it's not genetic, it is perspective. And the Baal Shem Tov says, and this is very important to save me in my own life, when I was going through something difficult, and it may be that you're going through something difficult now, when you can see the good and the bad turns to good. Again, if you look at reality, the person's watching a show and there's a sad part, you feel sad. Calm down from the media. How many times can you get the same news? Because all the media does is give you the same news and worse news. That's its cycle, right? Bad and worse. And then they have to shock you more. So they got to go worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. So how are you going to feel? Bad, worse, 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 worse. Get rid of the media. You have Torah. You have davening. Daven, take your time. Daven like a mensch. I was speaking to a bacher. He says, actually, this is about Shuvah, so he's really serious about it. So he said, actually, I'm finding that being at home is even better. I can daven ba'avodah. I can daven long. The talis, you put it over your head. You can daven. And you can learn. And people like you. You can learn with your wife. You can learn with your children. You can call a chavrusa. You can learn. Get involved in good things. And the main thing is, don't ingest toxicity. 2 weeks before the election, this is 2016, I got so sick of Trump and Clinton. I said, that's it, enough. No more Trump and Clinton in my life. And I'm not saying that there isn't some importance, but the media just rehashes the same thing again and again and again and again. And so I went on a media diet. Once in a while, like every diet, you slip. And I always regret it, because every time I go into the media, what do I get? I get sick. I feel bad. And so the point is, if you want to make yourself feel worse, just go to the media. It's very simple. But if you want to make yourself feel good, there's Baruch Hashem a Torah, there's Chassidus, there's thousands of Sfarim. You can go to Chabad.org, you could listen from today till tomorrow. And people are interested. Every Yid has an neshama. Your wife wants to learn with you. Your children. Everybody wants to learn. You just have to take the time and do it. And so the point of the matter is, our lives, what is Bechira Chavshus? What is free choice? It's freedom to use your time wisely. If there's no freedom of consequence, there's freedom of choice. You make the right choices, there will be the right consequences. And so, therefore, Simcha is up to us. And I want to conclude with something that I suggest. I do some courses, etc., etc. But something that I suggest has helped many, many, many people. And because this might induce it, it's actually made people wealthy. And it's very, very simple. When you wake up in the morning, after you say Maida Ani, you have to count at least 5 things you're grateful for. I count people that I love, the Eibishter. Think about also things that change your life. It says Tainug Tmidi Einoi Tainug. Something that's a constant pleasure is not a pleasure. So I've met people that unfortunately they had near-death experiences. They sort of were out of this world and came back. They're just happy to be alive. Why? Because they know life is a gift. However, if you're always living and you never knew a circumstance of not living, so you don't know life is a gift. Life is normal. And so the same thing applies, is think about those things that became gifts. Did you get married? Did it make you happy? Well, think about that. Thank the Eibishter every day for your wife, for your husband, for your kids. It had a major impact in your life. You have a house? Thank the Eibishter for a house. What about the fact that you have democracy, you have freedom? That's pretty good. You have a Rebbe, you have Chassidus, you have Torah, you have Israel. You've got amazing things. These things make a difference. We are living in the best times, this is objectively speaking. When you look at studies, person 200 years ago to person today, there's no comparison. Not even the fact that we're living double as long. We're living in the best time as Yidden. It's unbelievable. It's like Mashiach time. That we're free. We're not being oppressed for being Yidden. It's unbelievable. And the revelations of Chassidus that have come to us, it's like Torah Shel Mashiach already. It's unbelievable what we have. But you just got to take it. And that's the whole idea of davening, is when you daven, you remind yourself, and this is actually a study from the University of California, that gratitude makes happiness and hope. People think, oh, if I had this, I would be grateful. No. If you're grateful, you will have happiness and hope. And the first thought you do every morning becomes your train of thought. So if you think actively, and I do this every morning, it's based on Chassidus, this idea. First thought becomes your train of thought. So it's a very simple conclusion. Well, if I'm going to think gratitude, it's not enough to just say Maida Ani. You have to think about things that you're grateful for. If you do that in the morning, you're going to induce happiness. And you're going to be able to handle. Now, of course, there's always stresses. But if you're starting your life, if you're starting your day happy, a stress comes, it's like a little bump. But if you're starting and you're already like this, and every bump shakes you out. My friends, 3 things from the Rebbe. Give all of yourself, your time, your money to others. Number 2, be happy. Reveal your neshama. You are one with Hashem. That is what a neshama is. You have Torah, you have tefillah. Get involved in positivity. Have Avas Yisrael. Love your fellow Jew. They are one. And be besimcha every morning. Have gratitude for your life. And if this message was important, send it to someone else. Make a resolution just to send it to one person. And that one person can send it to one person. We can bring chesed. We can bring tzedakah. We can bring love. We can bring unity. And perhaps most importantly, we can bring happiness. And as Reb Pinchas Karitz said, happiness is not a mitzvah. But what happiness can achieve, no mitzvah can achieve. And sadness is not an aveira. But what depression, God forbid, can cause, no aveira can cause. L'chaim.